Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and I'm back out here today to work on the Quonset hut. Mondays are always a tough day for me. I've got a lot of things pulling me in different directions. We do payroll on Monday, so it's almost noon before I'm out here. And it feels like a day to just take off from this, but I don't think I can because we've got strong wind tomorrow, we've got storms maybe coming in the next day, and we've only got 2 arches up. Even though those are tied off and seem to be staying pretty solid, I really would like to get some more progress done to widen this out and solidify it. And unlike the weekend, I don't have a crew out here to just bust it out today. So I need to see how much I can get done by myself. I do have a crew up there working in the shop, but they have jobs to do and we've got orders to get out. So if I need some immediate help for something, I can grab somebody. But otherwise, I'm gonna just see what I can get done by myself. I figure that might be the case for a lot of you as well. That maybe you don't have as much help as you'd like, but you still need to make progress. So I'm just gonna see what I can get done. And working by myself, I should be able to give you more of a up-close view of exactly what goes into this. I think the biggest key to working on something like this by yourself is preparation and planning. It makes all the difference if you've got all the tools right where you need them, when you need them. Because if you're holding up a panel, you can't go get a wrench or some more bolts. Tell you what, I love these little giant ladders. This one can be a 6-foot step ladder, A-frame ladder, or it can be a 10-foot A-frame ladder, or I think it can reach over 20 feet as just a straight leaning ladder. Sometimes it's a little hassle to unfold by yourself, but so much versatility. I'll need this ladder right here to put bolts in, but also if I have trouble managing that, it can rest against this a little bit while I'm getting the panel in place. On this particular project, being prepared means I have these drift pins to align the bolt holes, clamps that are already adjusted to clamp down on the panels. This right here is loosened up just a little bit. Means already having bolts and nuts in my pockets, so I'm not trying to reach anywhere else. I'm not gonna run these down with the driver yet, but I'm gonna have a driver setting here in case I have trouble getting the bolts to go through the holes, because sometimes when you've got 2 holes that are like 95% lined up but not quite, you can spin the bolt through and the threads will suck it through those 2 panels. A full arch only weighs 240 pounds. People who watched us struggle to stand them up were suggesting ways we could lift it with the machine, which is good. I may do that, but what might be overlooked if you haven't done this before is that just lifting in the middle isn't the problem. We could very easily, we had 2 people with ropes, we could very easily lift that up. The problem was that when you lift in the middle, the ends are like noodles and they twist and fall away from where you want them, and it was bending in opposite directions for some reason. So whatever system you use has to support and lift from multiple points. Today, working by myself, I'm only putting up 2 sections at a time on the bottom, and then 1 section at a time the rest of the way up. There are 7 panels in an arch, so I'm guessing that the long panels weigh about 50 pounds and the small panels weigh 20 to 30 pounds, something like that. What I have here is 1 long section and 1 short section that we pre-bolted on the first day. They're held together with 12 bolts and nuts, and I'm gonna go ahead and stand that up, get it in place, and see if I can get it attached. Now that I've got that stood up, I'll go ahead and put some gloves on. Probably should have done that before. I don't like working with gloves. It's hard to feel what you're doing with the bolts, but I also don't want to cut my hands on this tin, so I'm going to put them on. Now, as I talk about the viability of doing this by yourself, you got no chance on the first arch. I mean, nothing's impossible. It'd be very difficult to do the first arch because that was difficult with the whole group of people. Makes it dramatically easier when you have something to hold on to. Okay, I'm shoving this up with a drift pin. Okay, I'm having a hard time lining that bottom one up, but I think I can get one in here. Okay, I've got a bolt and a punch in there now. Let's see. Okay, now I've got to punch in from the other side in these bottom holes. All right, we should be lined up now. Start putting these in. Gonna hold that punch with my knee. It's a good day to have less wind than we had all weekend because that's pretty much staying. I have a bolt and a couple of punches through holes. And I feel like it's also resting on the ladder, so I feel like it's pretty solid. I'm gonna take a punch and some of these bolts from my pocket and a clamp and go up to the top and get some in there. If I get a couple up there and a couple down here, it won't go anywhere while I'm finishing. Well, I wasn't as prepared as I thought because I thought I had the ladder set where I could run these top bolts, but it doesn't work that way. You can't reach that high. You can't reach around the panel to put bolts in. So we'll have to move a lift over here. Okay, right here's where I got a screw in a minute ago, but now this panel's no longer lined up and it's pushed out. I've got just enough reach. If I get this pin in, I can reach the driver around and try to get it through this back panel. Okay, so I need leverage right this direction to line these holes up. Now I'm letting that leverage off so it can kind of pinch the bolt. Once I get the nut started, then we can drive it down. These are already the most difficult to line up because you're going through 4 layers. See if we can get the next one above it. After that, you're only going through 2 layers on the next hole. So, I need longer arms. So I spent all day yesterday thinking about, is there a way I can get the panels in place by myself? I decided yes, even the top ones, I can get those panels in place. I really didn't put much thought into whether I could reach around and put the bolts in, and that's proving challenging. In my mind, I was gonna just put these up by myself and it was gonna be great. You just gotta admit defeat pretty quick in this case, because I just can barely reach around to the bolts and nuts. I'm not gonna be able to put them in, especially once we get up higher. To get to this, we're gonna put the scaffolding where the ladder's at, and the ladder has to straddle this wall so that you can get as close as possible to the arch from the outside and reach over. Then for the next section, we'll have to take this rope down and retie, because every time we get up to where the eyelet is, we have to relocate it. I was originally going to move this with the tractor, but it's a double pivot point wagon, which makes it very hard to back up, especially in this tight space. Realized it's pretty easy to move by hand, and we just chalk the wheels. Don't crash into it. Okay, buddy. A little bit of a problem putting bolts in at the top, because the way that arch goes, it was really hard to suck it up far enough, and as I was trying to align that with a pin, it felt like it was stretching the holes. So I got a bolt through it, but not tightened down. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up, and that should line those holes up and bring it together as we go. Well, I basically made it as far as I could before calling in reinforcements. This is my friend Cooper, who works in the shop and actually just got home from a stint in the Army. So thank you for your service, young man. It takes a special kind of person to serve your country like that. One last quick thing while I'm rambling off topic here. My 4-year-old grandson recorded about a 10-second video for you guys, and I'm going to put that at the end if you got a sentimental side for the little ones. You want me up there?
I can get up there. I think I might need I might have to put the ladder right here though.
I don't think it'll work, because up here you are 5 feet away.
Right, sure.
I think you have to be right where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely.
And then for the top one, you have to be on this yellow scaffolding.
Alright. Yeah, I can definitely.
I have to move onto the scaffolding right now. As I prepared to put this building up, I watched every video I could find on YouTube about Quonset huts, and the majority of them are time-lapse from a distance. And over the course of 8 minutes, or whatever it is, they show you the entire process of putting one of these up from a distance. But that didn't really prepare me for what it is up close, minute by minute, trying to get it put up. I didn't understand that I would have to have my scaffolding on both sides and not just in the middle. I thought I could put a scaffolding in the middle, ladders on the side, and reach all these bolts. But with my elevated building, that would have never worked. Alright, so we got this panel all bolted up. Before we can put the next one on, we have to move our tie down point. Currently, our tie rope that keeps the arches from swaying is bolted in where the next section goes. So we'll move this probably right here. And after we get that arch up, we'll probably put it back higher up. Okay, now you're gonna rewrap it, or you're not really pulling tight, but you're keeping it where it can't move that way. So you want it decently tight, but not super tight. The plan is we're gonna lift the next panel onto the tote, then lift it up in place, slide it down into this lower panel, and clamp it. Then we can work on getting bolts in. What you're hoping to do is set this on top of there and let it hold the weight.
Okay.
Push it up all the way on for the whole run of this on top. Okay. I'm gonna slide it down till bolt holes line up.
Should be about on
I'm there. Yeah.
You're there on that side?
Yeah. Putting the punch in. Right there. And then I'm putting the clamp. Okay. Now, can you get access to put a clamp on the top of that? The answer is no, we can change. Okay. So I've had a little bit of a dilemma with tightening these bolts. The instructions say that as you're putting up the arch, don't tighten any of the bolts down. But even one arch, you can barely reach the other side of the first arch, even if you're all the way up above it. So there's going to be no way to come back through and tighten them up unless you can tighten the bottoms without holding the top. And I think you probably can. And it doesn't specifically tell you that's how to do it. But what I've done is order some sockets that fit a 9/16 square nut. And what I'm hoping I can do is leave all the bolts loose and just zip them from the bottom. It sways all the time. I thought the cart was swaying. All right, I thought I'd give you the view from the top. It looks like you're higher once you're up here. So we've got 4 more. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more bolts to get from here. And we're only going finger tight from now on. Yeah, there's just no way I could reach the bottom nut while I'm holding this one. Okay, last 2, and then we'll pop that clamp off. To this point, you've seen me put 3 panels on one side of this arch. Then I repeated the exact same process to put the 3 panels on the other side, with the only difference being that one of these was a short panel. And that got us to only having the top section left. You know what I just realized? Now that we have this 3rd arch almost all the way up, all that's left is the rest. This video is going in my Quonset Hut playlist that has a ton of videos showing every step of the process, from excavating a pad into a hillside, to setting block, to putting in the rock, to standing up the building, insulating, putting up doors, probably some solar or, trenching electricity out to the building. So if you want to follow along, or you're putting up a Quonset hut, check out the whole playlist. As I sit here and watch back this whole video, it seemed like a pretty straightforward process, but it's just really time consuming because across the entire arch, you have bolts every few inches, and they're all hard to reach, and you have to move the scaffolding in between. And that part could be made easier with a lift, but you're still going to have this several days, and I don't know if I want to rent a lift for a week. The next time I get a team over here like I had this weekend, we're gonna give another attempt to standing up whole arches. And that will make this faster, but it won't speed it up as much as I originally thought, because the most time-consuming part is attaching the arches to each other. Now, if you think I'm a nut for using a hay wagon with a scaffolding on it and an IBC tote on that, I don't know what to tell you. I grew up in the country, and this is just how you got things done. People weren't out renting machines all the time. You built what you needed out of what you had. And I'm a little bit more modern in some things, and sometimes this just makes sense to me. I have a hard time, even if I have the money, spending money on rental units. I'm completely aware that time is money, and while I'm saving money doing it this way, I'm spending time. So, it's all in how you look at it, I guess. Well, I got one more arch up. I'm gonna have to find a way to pick up the pace, but I didn't start today till noon, and I'm kind of quitting early too, but one's better than none, I guess. I appreciate you taking time to watch. See more of our videos right here, and I'll see you next time.
And that's all we're gonna do today. See you next time. See the link. I'll see you next time.